Welcome back guys. In this video I'll be testing some games with LSFG version 2.3 on my Steam Deck running on Windows 11. On my Steam Deck I have installed Valve's Windows APU driver that was released on 15th August 2024. LSFG is a universal frame generator that works on any GPU, whether it's from Intel, AMD or Nvidia. It does not matter. Unfortunately it's not compatible with SteamOS. This is why I am running it on Windows. I own the LCD variant of Steam Deck, so I'll be capping the game's FPS to 30. We'll be using LSFG's X2 frame generation mode in order to double the FPS from 30 to 60. A base FPS of 30 is literally the minimum requirement for any frame generation technique. At this low FPS value, some graphical artifacts will be noticeable. Input delay can be a problem. We'll be checking this out in this video. I've set the UMA buffer size value to 4 GB. Unfortunately on Steam Deck Windows we cannot set the UMA buffer size value to anything higher than 4 GB. This is a big limiting factor for some demanding AAA games that can easily consume around 5 to 6 GB of VRAM. These games stutter a lot. LSFG also comes with a performance overhead demanding on the GPU, so we need to have some free GPU resources for LSFG to work properly. Again we'll see. These are the settings for LSFG using its version 2.3. X2 frame generation mode, performance mode disabled for the time being. If base FPS drops below 30 then I'll enable it. Helps in improving the performance but has slightly worse quality. Clip cursor setting enabled, not using any of lossless scaling subscaling algorithm. Sync mode set to default, max frame latency set to 1. Draw FPS setting enable, capture API DXGI. Settings. Hotkey for enabling LSFG, Control Alt and S. Start as administrator setting enabled. This is the LCD variant of Steam Deck. Its refresh rate supports up to 60Hz only. It does not support variable refresh rate, that is VRR. So there will be some screen tearing. If you want to eliminate this screen tearing, you can enable VSync from in-game settings or even Adrenaline software. But this will slightly increase the latency, so it's entirely up to you. Minimize the application. First I'll be running Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. It's the PC Game Pass version of the game. I don't own it. It's very expensive, especially in India. No regional pricing employed. Now this game supports FSR 3 officially, frame generation, but it's only limited to the game's multiplayer mode. Single player campaign mode does not support FSR 3. What a strange decision. I'll be testing the campaign mode with and without LSFG. In the background, Steam Deck tools and RTSS are running. Call of Duty launcher starts up first. From here we need to select the campaign. There it is. Now the game will restart. Campaign mode started. Steam Deck tools overlay. 800p resolution, FPS limit 60. In-game display settings. I have set the display mode to full screen borderless. VSync off. No FPS cap. Quality settings. FSR 2.1 upscaler enabled using its quality preset. VRAM scale target 50. Just scroll down. Lot of settings are available. I have set most of the settings to low. All effects have been enabled. On demand texture streaming disabled. High quality textures are downloaded from the internet. That's it. Yeah, the game has started. First I'll play it without LSFG. Check out the base performance. 40 to 50 FPS. You can see VRAM usage is around 3.5 GB. I have used specific settings so that the VRAM usage does not exceed 4 GB. We are hitting the GPU bottleneck. In the indoor areas, FPS increases to around 55. Yeah, big open area here. Show you some combat. Game is playable even without using LSFG, so that's really good to see. Good performance on Windows. Go out in the open. Keep an eye on the FPS counter. I didn't wait for the instructions. Went in. There's the shooter. Okay, I'm going to load the same sequence. Now I'll apply a 30 FPS cap using Steam Deck tools, basically RTSS. Enable LSFG. Press its hotkey, yeah, it's working. Its FPS counter, base FPS dropped to around 30, FPS with frame generation 60. Check out the input response. Wow, can observe the added amount of smoothness, but I'm also observing some flickering around the gun. The scope. Disable night vision goggles. The performance gains are definitely present. See? Input delay is not a problem. Reload. So it's up to you. Let's check out the FPS stability. Really impressed by LSFG's performance. I'm surprised that Activision didn't add FSR3 frame generation in the game's single player campaign mode. Cleared the area. Annoying flickering around the gun, doing fast visual motion. Graphical artifact is a bit difficult to observe when you move the camera at a normal speed like this. Game's HUD elements are not flickering, as you can see. Now I'll be testing the next game. Now I'll be testing Persona 3 Reload, again PC Game Pass version of the game. Using my GuliKit KK3 Max gamepad. FPS limit set to 60 first. Display settings 800p resolution, full screen mode, VSync off. Rendering scale set to 100%, shadow quality set to middle. Frame rate limit 60. Reflection enabled. Game supports ray trace reflections. So this setting is very demanding on the GPU. There's a character. I'm standing at the entrance of Tartarus. Ray tracing is very demanding in this game. If you disable reflections, FPS will increase from 30 to 60. Let's enable LSFG. Hitting the GPU bottleneck. Need to change the display mode first. Window 720p. Scale. LSFG should be working now. Back to the game. Yeah, FPS increased to around 27, but overall performance is still on the lower side. FPS with frame generation around 40. It's better to just disable reflections. Don't even need to use LSFG in this game. Demonstrate this. Graphics settings. Reflections off. Shadow quality set to high. Display mode. Change it to full screen 800p. LSFG disabled. Now check out the performance. Stable 60 FPS. See how smoothly the game is running. Quickly show you some combat. Observing some screen tearing, you can enable VSync now. You're not using frame generation. Battle started. Okay, I don't know about the weaknesses of this creature. Try out different moves. Wind attack. Enemies down. This thing is weak against wind attacks. Do some fire damage now. Stable 60 FPS. perform the same attack on this thing. Now I'll be able to perform an all-out attack. Here you go. So excellent performance in Persona 3 Reload running on Steam Deck Windows. I'll be testing the next game. I'll run the Steam version of GTA 5. Story mode. LSFG's performance mode disabled. In-game settings. DirectX 11 version. Display mode. Window borderless. 800p resolution. FXA enabled. Population density and variety set to 50%. Same thing for distance scaling. Most of the settings are set to very high. Reflection MSAA disabled. That's it. Frame rate limit set to 60. There's Franklin standing in the middle of the road. FPS is close to 45, increased to around 50. I can observe the jank. This is not smooth at all. You can see the frame pacing graph all over the place. Display does not support VRR. It's better to just cap the FPS at 30 instead of this 40 FPS there. So I'll just cap the FPS at 30 and then enable LSFG. 30 FPS cap. Pressed LSFG's hotkey. See its FPS counter. Base FPS 30, FPS with frame generation 60. Just move the camera around. Check out the input delay. Yeah, Franklin's head is flickering when I move the camera in complete circles. Flickering does not occur when I move the camera at a normal speed like this. Some minor graphical artifacts. Game's HUD is not flickering. I can observe a strip of garbled textures around the bottom edge of the display. It's a bit difficult to observe this strip on a small display. Image quality is good. You can definitely use LSFG. In GTA 5 running at 30 FPS, can observe the added amount of smoothness. Just drive my vehicle. GPU load is within a range of 80 to 90%. It's a bit difficult to observe LSFG's FPS counter against a white background. 60 FPS. Few hiccups here, nothing extreme. Smooth experience. Now I'll be testing the next game. I'll be running Fallout London mod. First I'll show you the game settings. Using the low preset 800p resolution. Anti-aliasing FXA. All of the effects have been disabled. I have installed Buffout 4 and high FPS physics mods. Launch the game via FOSC loader. We are in. Here FPS is very variable. 35 to 41, increase up to 50. Again, it's better to just cap the FPS at 30 for a stable experience. See the jank, not a smooth experience. 37 to 50 FPS. I'll cap the FPS at 30 and then enable LSFG. Look at the VRAM usage, 4 GB. It's definitely higher than that. Virtual RAM is being used. 30 FPS cap applied. Base FPS 30. FPS with frame generation 60. Now I'll just move the camera. During fast visual motion, our character flickers his head. Game's HUD elements are not flickering. That's good to see. This issue was present in the older versions of LSFG. This issue was fixed recently. Kudos to the developer. Head does not flicker aggressively when I move the camera at a normal speed like this. You can definitely use LSFG when playing the game in third person mode. Now I'll just switch to first person mode. See what happens. Check out the blade. Yeah, it's flickering aggressively. Again, there is a strip of carbon textures around the bottom edge of the display, not easy to observe it. Just switch to third person mode. Show you some combat now. This dog is accompanying me, Churchill. I am looking for theme 7. Take this path. It's guarded by some mongrels. Input delay is not a problem when using LSFG, even with the base FPS of 30. Combat time. I'll just swing my blade. Mongrel. One down. Churchill did not back away from a fight. Took on that mongrel. When entering a new area, there can be a few FPS drops. Look at the size of this creature. Oh my god. They are everywhere. Popping out of the ground. Low on HP. So it's better to run the game in third person mode when using LSFG. It will help in reducing the graphical artifacts. Here's theme 7. Oh no, some creature is still attacking me. Now I'll be testing the next game. I'll be running the Epic Games version of Wuthering Waves. The game received a new update just a few days ago, version 1.2. I tested the game day one of its release. It suffered from performance issues, shader cache compilation related stutters. Deck was struggling to maintain a steady 30 FPS. Let's check out the performance now. FPS limit set to 60. I am from India, will be using the SEA servers, signed to my Kuro Games account. In-game settings, preset set to low. Display mode full screen. It's basically borderless full screen mode. Frame rate set to 60. VSync off. Most of the settings are set to low. FSI enabled. Capsule AO, volumetric fog, volumetric lighting and motion blur disabled. Anti-aliasing and bloom enabled. Ground density set to medium. Hit effects based on enemy materials off. I'm in the city of Jinzhou. This is the game running without LSFG. Yeah, here FPS is close to 45, not bad. I just use my grappling hook. Keep an eye on the FPS counter. Yeah, FPS dropped down to around 36 there. So FPS is very variable. Better to just cap the FPS at 30. It dropped down to 30. Using my grappling hook is very demanding. I've seen something similar happening in the Android port of Wuthering Waves. Testing the game on Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. Just apply the 30 FPS cap. Much better now. Stability. Gameplay is a bit sluggish. Now I'll just enable LSFG. 70 to 80% GPU load. FPS got doubled, 30 to 60. I can observe the added amount of smoothness. Input delay is not an issue. There is a slight increase in latency, but I'm observing some graphical artifacts. Character model is flickering, as you can see. Use my grappling hook. Keep an eye on the FPS counter. So smooth. This is amazing. Gliding, and you can clearly see the flickering going on. Game's HUD elements are not flickering. Kuishi village. This area is more demanding. Can be a few FPS drops here.
Leave it to me.
Small fries. Tag them. Use my abilities. Switch my character. Page FPS dropped down to 24 there. Now we are hitting the GP bottleneck. Ultimate ability. FPS with frame generation stays within a range of 50 to 60. Smooth experience. And just disable LSFG. Oh no. Very aggressive graphical artifacts. Disable. This will reduce the GPU load. Back to the game. Gameplay is sluggish now. Its smoothness is gone. Good to see FPS staying close to 30. Not seeing any hitches. Version 1.2 really helps in improving the game's performance. Oh no, massive FPS drop. Futures can occur here and there. FPS drop down to 23, back up to 30. I'll be testing the next game. I'll be running the PC Game Pass version of Forza Horizon 5. In-game settings, 800p resolution, frame rate unlock, VSync disabled, full screen mode enabled, FSR 2.2 upscaler enabled using its quality preset. Graphics, most of the settings are set to medium, motion blur set to low, and that's it. Frame rate limit set to 60 first. There's my vehicle, and here we are getting around 60 FPS. What's going on? I was not expecting this kind of performance. Here I can see some screen tearing. See, this is what happens when your device's display does not support VRR. I'm so used to playing these games on ROG Ally. Just can't stand this screen tearing. You need to enable VSync from the in-game settings. 50 to 60 FPS. VRAM usage is around 3.2 GB. Heading for the next event, just following the GPS. So amazing performance on Steam Deck Windows in Forza Horizon 5 without LSFG. For racing game, I would not recommend enabling frame generation. Oh my god, I am into so many vehicles, but let's just test it. Apply a 30 FPS cap. You need to switch to windowed mode, full screen off, enable LSFG. Back to the game, check out the input response. The input delay is not a problem. Took out that racer. FPS with frame generation close to 60, 55 to 60 FPS. I'm observing some garbled textures around the bottom left and right edges of the display. Nothing extreme. Steam Deck OLED variant would benefit more from LSFG. Its display supports up to 90 Hz refresh rate. There was a hitch there. Just start the next event. Yeah, I'm observing some hitching. Start the event. My vehicle. Game is running smoothly. You can definitely use LSFG in Forza. This game supports DLSS frame generation. You can also use free FSR 3 mods. I have already tested these mods. They produce a lot of graphical artifacts. Coasting around the fast moving vehicle. This issue is not present when using LSFG. So LSFG does have an advantage over FSR 3 in Forza. Even without LSFG, performance was good. Okay, time to conclude the video. LSFG worked very nicely on Steam Deck running on Windows, helped in improving the performance of every game that I tested. Next to frame generation mode, increased the FPS from 30 to 60, but there were some graphical artifacts in every game. In Wuthering Waves, the graphical artifacts were very aggressive. I cannot recommend using LSFG in such a scenario. Input delay was not a problem even when the base FPS was around 30. Steam Deck OLED variant should benefit more from LSFG as its display supports up to 90Hz refresh rate. Just cap the game's FPS at 45. X2 mode will try to double the FPS from 45 to 90. If you are struggling to meet the 45 FPS target, you can try enabling LSFG's performance mode. I really hope the flickering of character model issue will get resolved in the future via updates. Even without LSFG, games run very nicely on Steam Deck Windows. So that's it with the video guys. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.